Welcome back to another episode of the Dynasty Pros Devy Show. I am your host, Tommy Harvey, alongside Andy Pham and SC Romero. Tonight, we're going to be talking about week 4 coming up in college football. We have 6 games we're going to discuss, the biggest games of the weekend. And then we're each going to give our own opinion about what we think is going to be happening and what we want to see. All that coming up next. All right, guys. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Doing
Deal.
good, man. Doing good.
Good
Have some
deal.
exciting games. Get into some good games now.
Yeah, this gonna be a really good week. Really excited to see some of these games. How about we go ahead and jump into them? First game we want to talk about: Florida State and Clemson. Um, this is probably the game that is going to end up deciding what happens throughout the rest of the season in the ACC. These are probably the top 2 teams. I know right now there's a couple teams that are quote unquote ranked ahead of Clemson. But moving forward throughout the rest of the season, I expect it to be these two teams kind of battling it out to see who makes it to the ACC championship game. SC, go and give me your thoughts on this one.
I think speaking of it, they have 2 star quarterbacks in Travis and Klubnik, and I think it's really do or die. That was the thing I put in the notes for us is for Kate Klubnik. We've seen his bad, we've seen his good, and now this we've talked about it before. This is the game that makes the difference on where he's at, right? If he can go out there and perform, he may climb some boards again. He may start looking well again. Last week I saw a lot of holes in the Florida State defense, and that was against Boston College, and I definitely think that Klubnik and Clemson are a better team. So he's going to have to control this game. He's got to find those holes in that defense, take advantage of them. Kevin Knowles on Florida State looked pretty bad to me. He let a lot of whiffs on some tackles and let some big plays happen. So if Cape Cleveland can catch that and you'll catch him in that same kind of route, they could be in for an upset here. I think Florida State wins, but if Cleveland comes out and balls out like we've seen before, then this could be an upset opportunity.
Sure. I heard something that kind of resonated with me earlier today, and I kind of wanted to direct this towards my thoughts on Cade Klubnik. Whenever you watch a player, he can do 90 to 95% of the things right, but then that 5% is what that other 5% is what you're looking. That 5 to 10% is what you're looking at. Can he make his can he make that 5 to 10% not as bad as what he's shown? Because that's what really catches your eye is that 5 to 10%. You're like, man, that was really awful. And not really the other 90% that he's doing really well. It's that, that 10% that's like, God, that's really terrible. Can he cut down that 10%, that just the pure awfulness of that 10%? And if he can, I think he can be a pretty decent quarterback. Just that, like I said, that 5 or 10% just kind of really sticks in your head though. And it's like, what are you thinking? I think if he can make that small percentage of bad just less bad, I think he can kind of change my mind on him a little bit.
For sure.
And as far as Florida State goes, they got to get Keon Coleman involved. He was not involved this past weekend against Boston College. He was barely involved last week. So really, we're looking back on his week 1 performance against LSU, where he really skyrocketed up boards, and that may have been a little recency bias, but just looking at the guy, you're like, he should be a top 5 Devy wide receiver. I mean, his size, his speed, the way he runs routes, he goes up and catches the 50-50 ball. Just looking at him, why isn't he a top 5 Devy wide receiver?
Do you have any concerns right now with him?
He can't force Jordan Travis to throw him the ball. If Jordan Travis is more comfortable throwing Johnny Wilson the ball, then that's where he's going to go with it. So I don't know what more Keon Coleman can actually do. He only had 2 targets this past weekend.
Yeah. So,
some of that's got to be on Jordan Travis just trying to get him the ball, though, too, right?
Yeah, both Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, they aren't really big separators, so they're more contested catch guys, and so obviously, Jordan Travis has more of a relationship with Johnny Wilson. At the next level, if he were to continue to have games where he's going like 3 for 40, 4 for 30, maybe a touchdown here or there, do you think that hurts his stock?
Not necessarily if he's putting up these monster numbers in these big games, the way he did against LSU. If he comes out against Clemson and goes 7 for 120 and 2 touchdowns again, now all of a sudden you're looking at him like, well, crap, this guy's a big time wide receiver. Maybe he doesn't need to be utilized in these smaller games, and that they're just really showcasing him when they need to.
So right now, Clemson does have one of the better run defenses according to PFF here, but so that could be a big time for Travis to air it out, because maybe they closed down on Trey Benson, so they forced that passing game. But because of that, they actually beat themselves in the foot because it unlocks Keon Coleman, right? So it actually helps them out because it's like, okay, fine, we're just going to feed our top target here because the running game is not working, and now we're going to see how big of an impact he makes for the team.
Yeah, I think my biggest worry is Jordan Travis and his health. He got banged up on Saturday against Boston College. Is he is he a full go? Is he okay? Obviously they're gonna trot him out there because he's their best chance to win. But is he full strength? Is he able to scramble around and kind of create, on these off-platform type of plays in order to be able to get the ball downfield to Coleman and Wilson?
Yeah, agreed.
I think with this game, I think it comes down to the running backs and which team runs the ball better, is able to get key first downs, because you have Phil Maffa and Will Shipley, they've done pretty well for the season, and then you have Florida State and Trey Benson, who's really struggled the entire year. So I think with both these teams, with their defenses being pretty decent, they both have quarterbacks that have issues. So I think to take pressure off the quarterback, you got to involve the running backs. So my key for the game is who is able to establish the run early. And I think Clemson will be able to. I don't know what the thing with Trey Benson. He's struggled in games that I didn't think he would struggle in.
This sister line's not looking as good.
Yeah, I could kind of agree with SC there. Their line doesn't look necessarily great. Especially with how much Jordan Travis is getting hit. They're obviously not giving him, a whole lot of time to operate in the backfield either.
Even with Benson, if you watch him run, he's patient. He's not really trying to go explode or anything, so he's waiting for the blocks. And sometimes by the time he realizes the block isn't coming, he has to adjust very quickly to make the move to, miss the tackle or something like that. But it's kind of frustrating because he is someone that, hey, if you give him the rock, he is that guy that can be patient, get the hole, and then go out. But he's not getting those blocks that he needs in that initial handoff to make the 5-10 yards that he needs to then go off, So it's it's frustrating, because we had him as a top guy. My question, Andy, is if Will Shipley comes out here and just balls, does that raise him on your ranks there?
No. No. He can go out and get like 15 carries, 120 yards, and like 5 catches for 40 with a touchdown, I still won't moving up.
Yeah, some of it has to be, about athletic profile also, and Shipley's not he's not overly athletic, so yeah, I mean, all right, we're gonna move on here to Colorado and Oregon. A lot of people think that this is probably the biggest game of the weekend. I'm not necessarily one of them. I think there's a couple others there that are bigger, but everybody's really enamored with Colorado. But they're a big time underdog. I think they're a 20 plus point underdog in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Does Colorado have enough here to be able to compete?
It's hard. Someone actually messaged me this morning asking them if they should take Colorado plus 21, I think is what it is right now, 21 underdog. And it's very hard. The question is, I think Shedeur is going to go out there and have a good game. I think he's going to go out there and just be poised and show his confidence in the quarterback. The question's going to come down to the Colorado defense against this Oregon offense. To my knowledge, I think Oregon has put up the most points this season so far, as far as like in one single game. They had an 81-point game. I think that's the most. I'll have to double go check that. But they can put up points in a flash. Their offense is electric. Their offense gets down the field. So it's going to come down to that Colorado defense and make that stop. They only have 9 turnovers on the season. They're going to either make a big stop to allow Shedeur to get ahead, or they're going to have to make some turnovers. Regardless, I think we're going to see it go out like 14-0 Oregon, and that's going to be a lot of pressure on Shedeur. And the thing that is, if they lose, it's all on Shedeur, right? If they lose, oh, he lost the game, But people will need to watch this game to be like, did he lose the game, or did the Colorado defense just allow them to score heavily? But if he goes out there and Prime can hopefully coach him this, hey, just don't let Oregon get the ball. Let's play conservative football. Let's hold the ball as long as we can and just get down the field inch by inch. And that way they get less time on the ball because they don't need a lot. They can score in 1 play, 5 plays. They can score very fast. So this Colorado defense will have to do a lot. I don't want to say, plus 21, that's good, but it's very hard knowing how fast and how good Oregon's offense is and how bad this Colorado defense is.
Yeah, especially without Travis Hunter being available, they're gonna have a hard time on defense, especially. I think offensively they're going to be okay. Just defensively without their best player, that's tough to make up for, especially against a team like Oregon who wants to push the ball, who wants to, who's got a good Heisman contending quarterback who's going to push the ball downfield, and without your star corner, that's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough.
Agreed.
Yeah, with this game, Oregon can rush 3 or 4 and get pressure, and that's pretty much the entire game right there. Because Colorado, they're not going to have all day to throw, so you're going to have a lot of dink and dunks, and I just don't think that's going to be enough. And my hot take for this game is Oregon's going to be up so far ahead, we finally get to see Jurion Dickey on the field.
Hey, I'm with that. I want to see him so bad, so I would love that. Him and Dante.
Him and Dante Dowdle together, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be big time. That'd be big time.
That's the case. Let's see it happen. Shedeur, hey, it's not happening. Let's see these rookies come in, these freshmen.
Right. All right. Well, how about we move on to UCLA and Utah? I think this game's going to be a defensive struggle, honestly. Utah has a good defense. UCLA with their young freshman quarterback, this is probably going to be his biggest test so far. I know him and J. Michael Sturdivant kind of have a good, pretty good connection there. But I just see Utah kind of shutting them down the way they shut down Florida.
Yeah, so with this game with Utah, Cam Rising, local reports are he's gonna be cleared to play. I don't think we'll see the full Cam Rising where he's just running around like crazy. I think they're gonna try to slowly get him back into the rhythm and the flow So yeah, they're going to lean on the run game with Jackson, and then they're just going to let their defense do the work. What I want to see from UCLA is I want them to get into a quick, easy flow for Dante Moore. Get the ball out of his hands, let him get some confidence, hand the ball off to Carson Steele, TJ Harden, establish the run, and then do play action, and then you end up taking the shot with J. Michael Sertivant over the top. And if they can do that and get to maybe like a 6-0, 6-3, just get like an early lead with some field goals. Just weather the storm for Dante Moore. It's gonna be a big road game against a really good team. If they can do that, I think UCLA can hang on and maybe win the game. I know I believe they're now a 7-point dog since Cam Rising was reported to be playing.
Is if Cam Rising is healthy and is good to go, does Utah play Nate Johnson at all?
I think it would be smart. I don't know how much I can say. I have an insider with the University of Utah. Cam Rising, they can't let him play the way that he's been playing. I'll put it that way. So I do see them shuffling quarterbacks in. Cam Rising, if he can't play the way he wants to play and he has to be reined in, it's going to be tough for Utah. So that's going to be the key. They're going to have to get Jackson involved in the run game. They're going to have to slow it down. They're going to have to play time of possession and just have their defense kind of make plays for them so they get into plus field territory.
Do you see like any type of special package for Nate Johnson coming in?
I do. I mean, he's played really well, and he's kind of like that spark plug for them. So to just have him be on the bench the entire time, I don't see that being a smart thing. I think you have to have certain packages, or if Cam Rising does come out slow, you don't bench him, but just put him in, just be that spark plug for them. So I think it would be smart if they were to do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's you've been on here, Andy, saying Oregon State and Utah are the best defense in this conference. And so the thing with Utah is, though, they're not a team that necessarily forces turnovers. They only have 5 on the season. So they get stops, though. So if Dante Moore can capitalize that and not allow them to get the turnovers like they haven't been doing, then there is that chance that he comes in here and upsets them, But this is going to be a tough defense. And as a freshman, this is exciting, right? Because really, win or lose, you see what you have in this guy and what kind of plays he makes against an aggressive defense like Utah.
Yeah, and Cole Bishop, the safety for Utah, is a special player. He's gonna be a first-round draft pick. So, can Dante Moore kind of avoid allowing Cole Bishop to be involved on the defensive side?
Yeah, take someone that attacks the line. He can be all over. He gets his tackles wrapped up. So it'll be special to see regardless.
Right. All right, our next game, Ole Miss and Alabama. This was looking like at the beginning of the year, everybody thought, man, Alabama is going to, Alabama has the possibility to just kill Ole Miss here. But that's not the way it's looking anymore. I would actually take Ole Miss to win this game straight up. I saw a line the other day where Alabama was favored in it. I was like, how? I mean, I get it's in Tuscaloosa, but Ole Miss is playing like a much better team right now.
Yeah, and for me, I think this is Jackson Dart's spotlight game. If he can go out and show out, I think he can easily be he could be in that argument for quarterback 3 of this draft class, because we saw what Quinn Ewers did against Alabama, and he was the talk of the entire week, and about all the throws that he made and all the plays that he made. Jackson Dart can do the same exact thing, and to me, it would be more impressive if he were to beat Alabama than what Quinn Ewers did, because Jackson Dart, he hasn't had a full receiving group. You have Trey Harris, he's been hurt. Zachary Franklin, he's been hurt. Those two guys were supposed to be the 1 and 2 incoming, but they've been hurt all season. So he really hasn't had any rapport with his receivers. So I'm hoping Aiden Williams can get out and do something. And then coming into the season for Jackson Dart, his safety blanket was supposed to be Quinshon Judkins, and he struggled all year. And some of it might be due to injury, it might be due to some other things. Last week he was listed as doubtful. He wasn't going to play, but he still played. My question is, if he was hurt to a point where he was listed as doubtful, why did you play him if you have Alabama this week? So for me, how I see this game's on Jackson Dart. If he can come out and show out and beat Alabama, he's got all the case to make to be quarterback 3.
Yeah, I mean, with Trey Harris being questionable, I haven't seen any practice reports to tell you to be able to say if he's been active at practice this week or not. But if he's not able to go, then they're gonna rely on Watkins and Wade more. Then they're gonna have to rely on possibly Michael Trigg. I did see where Caden Prescorn was also practicing. Getting in a possibility to play this weekend. So if Prescorn can play, and if Trey Harris can play, Trey Harris is obviously the big deal. If he can't go, then that really puts a damper on that Ole Miss offense. If he can, now all of a sudden you're looking at, he has Jackson Dart they're going to have a close to full cachet of weapons to be able to use.
And then I saw reports that Franklin's finally practicing without the non-contact jersey. So
Good.
He might try to play this week, but not this week, probably next week.
Right.
Alabama has some dogs at the linebacker position, so this could be a big time for Jackson Dart to take it under his own, and get some big plays and just kind of expose them. But Alabama's going to come to play. They have that one loss and they know what that means. So they're going to come out hot, So this can, like Andy said, raise a lot for Jackson Dart as well. And it's sad because Quinshon's running and he's right now not even leading the team in rushing at start. Then that's a whole different team. We haven't seen that unlocked yet. We've seen Jackson Dart slowly get worse and worse as he's kind of going along outside of a 4 touchdown game to start the year. So this is big. This is a big game for him.
Well, main question I have about this game is, can Alabama score enough points in order to be able to hang with Ole Miss? Offensively, they have been awful, just terrible this year. And that was even more evident this past weekend when they only scored 17 points against South Florida, who South Florida is not a good defense. But Alabama looked awful. I get it. The weather was kind of off. They had that lightning delay, but they did absolutely nothing to the point where now they've even gone back to Jalen Milroe as their starting quarterback because Buckner and Simpson looked that terrible.
I think it's more of a Tommy Reese issue, the offense coordinator, than it is the quarterbacks. Like if you know that Jalen Milroe has issues processing defenses, scheme him up, do quick short passes, do have him do 2 reads, and if it's not there, take off. So I think it's on Tommy Reese.
Yeah, I was really perplexed with that offseason hire, to be honest with you. Reese didn't really prove anything when he was at Notre Dame. They were not a good offense whenever he was there. So not only did they bring in Reese, but then they also brought in his quarterback. So it's like, are you just looking to be bad? Because that particular offense that Notre Dame had last year would definitely not get it done in the SEC.
Yeah.
All righty. Our next game. This is the game I think is the biggest game of the weekend. Ohio State, Notre Dame. Top 10 matchup. Ohio State's high octane offense, or should be high octane offense, against Notre Dame's very, very good pass defense. Notre Dame has a top 5. I think they have the number 4 overall pass defense in the country. They're only giving up like 126 yards a game. So this is going to be a big test for Kyle McCord. Is he going to be able to find his stud receivers and put up points in order to win this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that will be, because we've seen Colin McCord struggle, right? And then these past 2 games, it seems like, okay, this is the Ohio State offense we want to see. But now it's like, all right, we're going against Notre Dame. But then on the flip side, you have Sam Hartman, who's been balling, and that could be a huge testament to what Audric Estime is doing over there. And you just mentioned how the offensive coordinator switched. Now we're seeing what Notre Dame's capable of. Estime is a great guy, and I think that could be the X factor of the game, because if he continues to go off, that's something that's going to tire down that Ohio State offense and potentially get Sam Hartman in the red zone a lot more than they would like, and give that opportunity for them to put some scoring up. Because I think Notre Dame could stop Ohio State on a couple plays, but on the flip side, they have the wide receiver 1 in the country, right? So, I mean, just throw it up to him and let him do his magic.
Does Notre Dame have enough perimeter weapons, enough pass catching options to hang with Ohio State? I'm not a huge believer in Jaden Thomas. I think Jaden Greathouse is okay. He's okay for a freshman, but and then you got Holden Stays is pretty decent tight end, I guess. But outside of that, what do they really have? I mean, you're throwing to Tobias Merriweather, and I don't know if they have enough firepower to be able to win this game.
I think this game will kind of go back to what we talked about to end the Tuesday episode about how, speed, and how, USC and Oregon and what they're bringing to the Big Ten has, speed that kills on the outside and everything. And I think this will be evident because Ohio State has speed. They have speed on defense for the corners and the safeties and the linebackers. Notre Dame, they don't really have that on the outside, like you were saying. So I think this game, at the end of the day, I think Ohio State wins. And I think people are going to look back and see the reason why Notre Dame struggled is they didn't have any outside help for Sam Hartman. And I think that's the biggest issue between these 2 teams.
And that just goes to you, Tommy. I mean, that goes to show what Estime will mean, because if he has an efficient run game, that's going to take that pressure off to allow those outside weapons to open up, because they're going to try to bring the pressure to stop Estime at the line of scrimmage so he doesn't bust out, right? So it kind of go hand in hand there with them, that it's like we know we can't necessarily beat them deep, so we could beat them short to open up that deep game to allow the guys to go over top and beat them because they're focused on Estime in the backfield.
Sure. Here's a question for both of you. If Notre Dame does pull this game off, do you look at them as a legitimate national title contender?
No, I think I think it's more so that, Ohio State will need to make a change. If he can't go in there and beat them, then I think that shows maybe Colin McCord's not that guy, that you need to switch it up. It's going to be more of a stamper on Ohio State not winning than Notre Dame would. But I don't think they're going to – I mean, they could get to the playoffs, sure. They can go undefeated, but I don't think they're going to do anything in it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I look at it too. You know, it's like that year Notre Dame made the national title game against Alabama and just got destroyed. They were never going to win. They were never going to win that game.
Mhm.
So I didn't look at them as a national title contender, even though they were in the national championship game.
Yep.
I felt like the national championship game that year was the Georgia and Alabama conference title game, because the winner of that game was always going to win the national title.
I pulled up their schedule, and just by looking at it, I'm gonna say no. I mean, even if they do beat Ohio State, the very next week they're at Duke, then at Louisville, and then they're home to USC. So those are their next 4 games: Ohio State, Duke, Louisville, USC. Then they have Pitt, and then they go to Clemson. And if somehow Cade Klubnik can do something there, that could be something tough. So I don't think so if they beat Ohio State. That have a pretty tough schedule.
Well, by beating Ohio State, does that make you think that they could potentially beat everybody else?
No. I think they lose 3 games. If they were to beat Ohio State, I still think they lose 3 games.
If they go in, I mean, it's just, again, that's just going to elevate Caleb more, right? If McCord can do it with the weapons he has and Caleb does it with arguably less weapons, right, as far as just that talent in Marvin Harrison and Aguka, then it's just going to show like, okay, look, this is why he's the top quarterback, because he makes it happen.
All right, we got one more game we're wanting to talk about tonight. Actually, we have a couple more games because we have the question of the day winner, but we're going to go and dive into Oregon State and Washington State here first. I think this is really going to be a game where you're going to look at guys at Cam Ward and his wide receivers, especially Lincoln Victor, going up against that really good Oregon State defense. Oregon State only allows just over 200 yards a game through the air. So I think this is going to be a pretty big challenge for Cam Ward, who's averaging close like 386 or something like that a game, for just himself. So I mean, I think this is going to be a pretty big test for him. And I actually believe Cam Ward has really, really solid NFL draft value also.
Agreed. I think this is going to be one of Oregon State's toughest defensive runs. So it's really going to show how exciting this offense is too, with Damian Martinez and DJ back there. So if they're able to run it up, then that's just going to be a testament to what they're about and what they could bring to the table. It's going to be a close game. Washington State, in the Pac-12, they're always a team that I feel like is an underdog, but doesn't necessarily always need to be. They're always a competitor, it feels like. And so this game really is closer than people may think when it comes down to it. But, I think this is our first live look in what Damian Martinez is, because I think this is the toughest defense that he's played so far. So this is actually going to show, okay, is this the guy that we've been seeing, or has it just been lack of who he's been playing?
When I did my in the offseason, I did an entire profile on Damian Martinez, and my comp for him was Marshawn Lynch. The way he runs, he's a very violent runner. He has very good vision. And when he gets into a pile, those legs don't stop. They keep moving, and he always churns an extra 2, 3, 4 yards. So by the time the second half, it's third, fourth quarter, the defense doesn't want to have to deal with him. So that was my comp of him, and I absolutely love him as a player.
Yeah, I really agree with you on Martinez there. I think he's a load, and he's a guy, especially towards the end of this year, going into next year. I think his stock is really going to take a big bump. Hey, SC, go ahead and jump into this question of the day winner. You had posted a poll on Twitter yesterday asking what game that that everybody wanted us to talk about.
Yeah, man, the winner became Wisconsin versus Purdue, and love that because last week I talked about the freshman at Purdue and Thiemann, and now he's going against an offense that to me hasn't been, I guess, what we thought. Braylon Allen was coming out hot, and now we're seeing Lucy in it. And I think the question that people want us maybe talk about was what is up with this running game. I mean, if they seem to be somewhat stopped, Wisconsin should win this game, but if they seem to be somewhat stopped by a Purdue defense overall, I mean, is that raising concerns for Braylon Allen? I mean, because right now he's averaging 7.1 yards per carry. He does look good, but it's just not as explosive or as much as I've been wanting to see from him, because again, we're getting into the tougher schedules now with every team, and we haven't seen the Braylon Allen that we wanted to see, I feel like. So I'm confused on where he's at right now. He just kind of keeps slipping because these were the easier games and I wanted the domination. And so now we're gonna slowly get into this tough schedule now. So what does that mean for Braylon Allen if he continues to look meh?
I think with the whole Braylon Allen, Ches Malusi situation, they don't want to put all the burden on Braylon Allen. Malusi is a capable back as well. He's obviously not nearly as good as what Braylon Allen is. Allen is dynamic. He's for his size. He's extremely explosive. He is the closest thing to Derrick Henry that I've seen since Derrick Henry. I mean, just be honest with you there. He's a patient runner, but he doesn't hesitate to run over you. And he'll also break away from you at the same time. I mean, he's got the whole package. I just think a lot of this situation is that Fickle's never been the type of guy who just goes with one running back. So he likes to kind of rotate his backs in there to keep them fresh, to keep them healthy. So I think that's probably a lot of why you're not seeing a whole lot of Braylon Allen volume, but when he does get the carries, he capitalizes on them. I mean, he had 94 yards and what was it, 2 touchdowns, or was it just the one over the weekend? I know he had at least 1 touchdown. So plus he's getting more volume in the pass game also. 2 touchdowns, okay, yeah. But so and he's also getting more volume out of the backfield in the passing game, which that was always a big question. Does he have good enough hands in order to be effective at the next level in the NFL? Or is he just going to be a guy who's just going to, pound the rock? I think we're getting an answer to that. He's a guy who can catch the ball. I'd like to see a little bit more route running out of him. They like to kind of dump it off a little bit there too. I'd like to see more wheel routes, more kind of angle routes, more getting him kind of one-on-one with linebackers and safeties. See what he can do.
As far as with Wisconsin and Phil Longo always uses 2 running backs. When you go back to North Carolina, they always use Michael Carter and Javonte Williams. So they always do a 2-back system. So as far as his usage, I'm not really concerned at all. And, coming into the season, there was reports that Braylon Allen said he wanted 50 catches. He might get 50 catches, but for 100 total yards.
And just to go full circle on the last game, we talked about Oregon State, Washington State. The game that kind of put Washington State on the map was them beating Wisconsin when Wisconsin was ranked, right? So this is another opportunity for Wisconsin. They're trying to climb back up because at that time, Washington State was unranked. And now we're seeing Washington State go back to Oregon State to be like, okay, this is another matchup against a higher ranked team. Let's continue to show what we're about. So it'll be exciting.
Well, and another thing that Purdue has to watch out for, Wisconsin forced a lot of turnovers this past weekend against Georgia Southern. Davis Brin's not a bad quarterback, and he threw 5 picks. So I mean, Purdue likes to throw the ball. Graham Harrell is their offensive coordinator. Hudson Card's not a terrible quarterback, but I actually think Davis Brin's better. And Brin threw 5 picks on this past weekend. How many is Hudson Card going to end up throwing?
Fair.
All right. Well, guys, that's going to do it for tonight's show. Andy, SC, go and tell us where we're able to find you guys. What it is you're working on.
You can find me on Twitter or X at Andy_fam1. Just released a player profile for Roman Wilson, Mission wide receiver. Tomorrow, having the week 4 preview of Devy and C2C games to watch. And then every Monday doing a recap of those with stock up, stock down, and C2C names to watch.
Nice. Then actually, you see me at the PPR show. On Thursdays, we have our IDP start sit articles on RPO. But then starting next week, we're going to have a thread going out on X every day except Saturday, so I can enjoy the college games. But Sunday through Friday, we'll have a different thread just talking about college football learnings, quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and even IDP. So just be on the lookout for that. And, find us every Tuesday and Thursday on here.
Yeah, and also every Saturday, SC likes to put out a tweet after the first series of games starts. He wants to know who everybody is kind of looking at in those second wave of games. So be on the lookout for that, and make sure you guys interact with us. We'll all be talking about it throughout the day on Saturday. But for me, Tommy Harvey, I'm at Dynasty Pros Tom on X. I do a lot of editing on dynastyprosfootball.com. Go check out the website. Go become a member. You get access to all of our rankings, the trade calculator, the trade value charts, all types of different stuff there. If you're tuning in on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button for us. Also, if you want to know when we go live, hit that notification bell, and that'll notify you. But for everybody, we appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you guys on Tuesday.